You follow every spiritual practice they recommend. You wake up early to visualize your dreams. You write down your intentions in a journal. You speak positive affirmations in the mirror. You sit in meditation daily. You work to maintain your alignment. You consciously raise your vibration. You constantly remind yourself to trust the process. But when you step back and examine your life, everything feels disturbingly familiar. New months arrive, but the same feelings persist. Fresh goals emerge, yet identical results follow. You can't help but notice that the connections you form still mirror the toxic patterns you're desperately trying to leave behind. Your money situation feels like it's on an endless reset cycle. Despite your relentless efforts, your emotional state swings between optimism and silent frustration. Deep down, a haunting question grows louder each day. What's going wrong? Why does my existence feel like I'm trapped in an infinite replay? Let me tell you something that might shock you. The problem isn't your character. It's not about your value, your capabilities, your intelligence, or even how much energy you put in. The real issue is your energetic broadcast. The quantum universe doesn't care about how hard you work. It doesn't respond to the depth of your longing. It doesn't reward the countless hours spent visualizing. The passion behind your mantras, or the effort you make to stay positive. The quantum universe operates on a single principle. It mirrors the energetic transmission you consistently send out, unconsciously from the depths of your being. This is the vibration you carry when nobody's watching, when you're not putting on a show, when you're not actively trying to create change. You remain stuck, not because you're terrible at creation. You're stuck because you continue to resonate at the same frequency as the version of yourself you've already evolved beyond. Until that old energetic pattern completely dissolves, the universe will continue reflecting it back to you with perfect precision, not because it wants to punish you, but because it operates through flawless energetic harmony. The quantum field remains completely neutral. It doesn't evaluate your dreams as positive or negative, worthy or unworthy. It simply reflects back the energetic truth you consistently hold about yourself and your reality. This explains why, regardless of how many new mood boards you create, how many guided visualization sessions you complete, or how many self-help books you consume, your daily experience can feel strangely unchanged. This isn't about you personally. This is pure energetic law. There exists a principle they never taught you in traditional education. The principle of energetic recreation. Whatever your unconscious mind perceives as secure, it automatically rebuilds. Not because it serves your highest potential, but because it feels known and predictable. The quantum field interprets this familiarity as your primary instruction. It responds with, this is your most frequent emotional state. This represents your deepest expectations. This is the reality you've become comfortable inhabiting. Understood, I'll continue to strengthen that experience. And this cycle repeats endlessly. Your manifestations don't originate from your vision boards. They emerge from your nervous system's conditioning. You create from the energy you naturally emit when manifestation isn't even on your mind. When you're simply existing, reacting to daily events, managing stress, dealing with setbacks, experiencing joy, or processing grief, you manifest from the quality of your thoughts during late-night solitude, from how you relate to yourself when plans fall apart, from the energy you unconsciously hold in the quiet moments between your intentional practices. This explains why people find themselves repeating identical life cycles. Even when external actions shift, new habits form, different routines emerge, updated practices begin. The internal energetic foundation stays completely untouched. You might repeat prosperity 1,000 times daily. If your nervous system remains programmed for limitation, the field doesn't register abundance. It detects scarcity and responds to match that signal. Most people never realize the field isn't working against them. It's simply mirroring their core energetic broadcast with mathematical precision. Here's what most people completely overlook. This pattern isn't evidence that you're damaged. It's not confirmation that you lack worth. It's not even proof that you're failing at conscious creation. This is a reflection system, an exact, uncompromising energetic mirror. Mirrors never distort reality. They only show you what exists. So what if instead of pursuing a different reality through additional techniques, extra tools, more books, or expensive courses, you developed enough internal coherence to allow the field to reflect something entirely new? What if the real work isn't about layering more practices on top of your current approach, but about dissolving the outdated frequencies that continue cycling through your system like invisible programming running in your background, controlling your experiences without your awareness? Because here's what's actually happening. You cannot override your energetic foundation through affirmations alone. You cannot manifest from a higher level while remaining anchored to the emotional conditioning and vibrational patterns of your previous identity. You cannot expand into your evolved self while clutching the same narratives, self-concepts, and frequency signatures that shaped who you used to be. The repetitive cycle continues, not because your efforts lack intensity, but because you keep broadcasting the identical energetic signature. You maintain the same morning practices, but underneath runs the same stream of anxiety. You repeat the same positive statements while carrying the same underlying insecurity. You take different actions while maintaining the same old energetic stance. The field recognizes this as your true signal and reflects it back with unwavering consistency. This is the foundation of quantum repetition. The field isn't blocking your desires, it's reflecting your energetic identity. Your identity isn't determined by what you claim it to be. It's defined by what your frequency consistently communicates. It's the complete sum of what you expect, what you accept, what you endure, what you naturally settle into when no one's observing, when the practices end. And it's simply you existing with your raw energy. Therefore, if you want to stop recreating the same reality, you must stop broadcasting the same frequency. To accomplish this, you need to develop acute awareness of what you've been unconsciously repeating on emotional, mental, and vibrational levels. Until you break that repetitive pattern, you're not actually manifesting a new existence. You're simply redecorating your current one with more appealing words, more sophisticated tools, and more advanced techniques. But here's where transformation becomes possible. Once you develop awareness of the pattern, once you can identify it, witness it, and feel it without getting consumed by it, you gain the power to step beyond it. This is the core of quantum reality jumping. Not forcing a new reality into existence, but embodying a new frequency so completely that the matching reality naturally forms around you. This is exactly what we're going to explore together in this experience. In our next segment, you'll discover how your unconscious mind creates energetic echoes that maintain the same experiences. Why your conscious mind fights change, even when your soul desperately craves transformation. And the crucial missing element for generating a new reality. Not through force, but through energetic resonance. We're moving beyond theory into actual transformation. Deep, lasting, energetically authentic change. Take a moment to breathe deeply. Allow the old frequency to release its hold. Let the patterns you've outgrown start dissolving in the space of your conscious awareness. Prepare yourself, because in the upcoming section, you'll understand exactly how your energy has been cycling and discover the method to interrupt it. Let's explore deeper territories. You now understand that what keeps repeating isn't your destiny, it's your frequency. But how does this actually function beneath the surface level? How do your unconscious mind, your nervous system, and the quantum field work together to maintain the same reality experience repeatedly? even when your conscious mind hungers for something completely different. It begins with this fundamental truth. Your unconscious mind wasn't designed to create happiness. It was designed to maintain safety. Safety doesn't equal fulfillment. Safety doesn't mean growth. Safety means recognizable and predictable. Your unconscious stores the complete collection of your experiences, belief systems, emotional wounds, and response patterns that have been reinforced through years, possibly lifetimes of repetition. These patterns form what brain researchers call neural highways, automatic channels of thought, emotion, and behavior that operate without conscious effort or awareness. Your nervous system absorbs these highways and stores them as your standard operating procedures. Your stress responses, your approach to love, your relationship with money, your perception of opportunities, your processing of rejection. All these patterns combine to create an energetic blueprint that your physical body continuously broadcasts, even when your conscious mind focuses elsewhere. Here's the crucial point. The quantum field responds to this blueprint, not to your conscious intentions, not to your hopes, not to the words you speak aloud, but to the frequency you most steadily transmit, your primary energetic signature. The majority of this signature operates completely unconsciously, emerging from your body's automatic reactions, your habitual emotional states, your reflexive thought patterns, and your default self-perception. This explains why transformation feels so challenging. When you attempt to manifest something new, you're often working from the same unconscious programming that generated the current reality you're trying to escape. It's like attempting to write a fresh story while the same old narrative runs automatically in the background, constantly correcting everything back to its original form. If this is hitting home for you, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting to the breakthrough part. Let's explore quantum physics for a moment. In the quantum model, reality exists as an infinite field of possibilities. Each potential reality exists as a probability wave. But these probabilities don't materialize into physical form until there's observation, intention, and most critically, coherence. Coherence means the alignment of your energy across every level: mental, emotional, physical, and vibrational. Without coherence, your signal becomes scattered, weak, and inconsistent. A fragmented signal cannot overpower a deeply established, long-standing frequency. Think of it like a radio station. If you're trying to tune into a new frequency, but your receiver is damaged or poorly calibrated, you'll get static, interference, and fragments of multiple stations bleeding through. The signal you want is there, broadcasting clearly, but your receiver isn't coherent enough to lock onto it. Your consciousness is the receiver, and the quantum field is broadcasting infinite stations simultaneously. The question isn't whether your desired reality exists, it does. The question is whether your internal receiver is coherent enough to tune into it and stay locked onto that frequency. This is why partial commitment creates partial results. When part of you believes in your new reality, while another part doubts it, when part of you takes aligned action, while another part sabotages it, when part of you feels worthy, while another part feels inadequate, you're broadcasting a mixed signal. The field receives this mixed transmission and reflects back a mixed reality. Some movement forward, some regression backward, some hope, some disappointment. It's not that the field is confused or malfunctioning. It's responding perfectly to the incoherent signal you're transmitting. Here's something that will fundamentally shift how you approach this work. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between what you call positive and negative emotions. It only responds to the intensity and consistency of your emotional broadcast. This means that if you're intensely afraid of staying stuck, you're actually broadcasting a very strong signal about being stuck. If you're desperately trying to escape your current reality, you're reinforcing the frequency of that reality through the very intensity of your resistance to it.
This is why so many people who are working hardest to change their lives often feel like they're running in place. They're putting enormous energy into their manifestation practices, but that energy is fueled by resistance, desperation, and fear of staying where they are. The field receives this intense emotional energy and interprets it as a command to maintain the current reality, because that's what's generating the strongest emotional charge. This is where most people encounter obstacles. They attempt to force change from the level of conscious thinking, not understanding that their unconscious programming continues broadcasting the same old signal at a much stronger intensity. Brain science reveals that up to 95% of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors operate through unconscious habitual patterns. This means only 5% of your energy actively participates in creating something new, while 95% continues reinforcing what already exists. This explains why, despite your dedicated efforts to maintain positive thinking or high vibration, you continue attracting similar relationship dynamics, financial struggles, health challenges, or emotional experiences. Your unconscious mind remains wired for these patterns, and your body continues emitting the frequency of these experiences, generating a powerful magnetic field that draws more of the same. In quantum terms, your observation, your conscious attention, might focus on your desired reality, but your vibration, your embodied frequency, remains entangled with the reality you're attempting to leave behind. The quantum field responds not to your wants, but to your energetic being. What you are is determined primarily by the unconscious patterns you haven't yet interrupted. Let's make this more practical. Consider the last time you attempted a significant change in your profession, relationships, health, or mindset. What unfolded? Most likely, you initially felt enthusiastic, motivated, ready for new actions. But then, resistance emerged. Self-doubt appeared. Old fears resurfaced. Procrastination set in. Self-sabotage occurred. You discovered reasons to postpone. This wasn't accidental. This was your unconscious mind attempting to return you to the familiar, to what it recognizes, to what feels safe, even when it causes pain. Your physical body plays a critical role here. Dr. Joe Dispenza frequently explains that the body essentially is the unconscious mind. Your body stores the feelings, stress responses, and emotional habits that define your current identity. Every time you attempt to shift into a new way of being, your body resists, not because it wants to harm you, but because it's been conditioned to keep you within the boundaries of what it knows. Your body craves consistency, so it creates thoughts, emotions, and impulses designed to pull you back into the familiar pattern. This is how quantum repetition functions mechanically.
Unconscious programming generates a consistent energetic field. The quantum field mirrors this field back to you as experienced reality. Your experiences then reinforce the programming, creating an endless feedback loop until, and this is the key, you become aware of the loop, observe it without judgment, and consciously introduce a new frequency into your system. But let's be absolutely clear. You cannot force your way out of this pattern. You cannot overpower years of unconscious conditioning with brief visualization sessions or affirmations posted on your bathroom mirror. This is why so many people feel frustrated with manifestation techniques. They're working at the surface level, while the true mechanism of creation operates in the depths. Quantum reality jumping requires coherence, the alignment of your conscious desires with your unconscious beliefs and your embodied emotional state. It requires tuning your complete energetic field to a new frequency, not just thinking different thoughts, but feeling new emotions, practicing new behaviors, and embodying a new identity. This is where most people halt, right at the edge of transformation, unable to cross the threshold because they remain entangled with the frequency of their former self. But you don't need to stop here. You don't need to continue cycling through the same reality. You can learn to recognize the patterns, to disentangle your energy from the familiar, and to broadcast a new signal so coherently that the field has no choice but to reflect it back as a new experience. In our next section, we'll explore how to recognize the exact moment when you're about to cycle back into your old frequency, and how to use that moment as a gateway to shift into a new one. We'll reveal the signs that you're on the edge of a quantum reality jump and the precise internal movements required to complete it fully. Take another deep breath. Feel the recognition settling in your body. You are not powerless in this process. You are both the pattern and the one who can transform it. Now that you understand how the cycle maintains itself through unconscious programming and vibrational frequency, let's discuss the precise moment where everything transforms or everything repeats. Most people fail to recognize this moment because it doesn't announce itself clearly. It doesn't arrive with obvious signals saying you're about to break free. Instead, it often appears disguised as frustration, confusion, or the subtle feeling that nothing is progressing.
But here's the paradox. That sensation of stagnation, that building tension, just before you want to quit, is often the exact moment you're closest to a quantum reality jump. Consider this. Before any transformation, there's almost always resistance. Not because transformation is wrong, but because it requires energy to move from one vibrational state to another. It requires destabilizing your old identity before your new one can emerge. This destabilization can feel like everything is crumbling, like nothing is functioning, like all your efforts are pointless. But in reality, what's happening is that your old frequency is beginning to dissolve, and your entire system, mind, body, and energy, is recalibrating itself to hold something completely new. One of the most recognizable signs that you're on the edge of a quantum reality jump is when your oldest patterns return with surprising intensity. You might find yourself falling into old behaviors, attracting the same types of challenges, feeling the same emotional triggers you believed you had overcome. This isn't failure. This is a final surge, the last expression of a frequency that senses it's about to lose its control over your life. The unconscious doesn't surrender its authority quietly. It will challenge your commitment. It will tempt you back toward the familiar. It will offer you opportunities to choose your old self again, because that's what it's programmed to do. This is why so many people unconsciously sabotage themselves right before a breakthrough, not because they lack strength, but because they're unprepared for the emotional discomfort of releasing what's familiar, even when what's familiar is painful. Here's another crucial sign. You start feeling emotionally stretched, as if you're positioned between two versions of yourself. One part of you yearns for expansion, for new possibilities, for the realization of the life you've been envisioning. The other part grips tightly to the known, to the secure, to the patterns that have shaped your existence until now. This internal tension is a signature of the quantum reality jumping process. It's uncomfortable, but it's also confirmation that you're exactly where you need to be. At this point, most people make one of two decisions. They retreat, returning to their old vibrational baseline, repeating the same reality once again. Or they embrace the discomfort, recognizing it as a signal that they're on the threshold of something fundamentally different. The choice you make here determines whether you continue cycling or whether you jump. There's also a physical indicator that often accompanies this moment.
Your body will resist. You might experience fatigue, tension, anxiety, restlessness, or even minor physical symptoms. This occurs because your nervous system is processing the energetic discord between your old identity and the new frequency you're beginning to inhabit. Your body has been conditioned to the stress, the limitations, and the emotional habits of your previous reality. Moving beyond this conditioning requires an adjustment period, a kind of energetic detox. It's crucial to understand that this discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. On the contrary, it's evidence that you're disrupting the cycle. Your system is reacting not to harm you, but to preserve the old paradigm. If you interpret this discomfort as failure, you'll retreat. If you recognize it as a necessary part of the process, you'll persist and you'll make the jump. Let's make this more concrete. Imagine you're working to manifest a new relationship, career opportunity, or level of financial freedom. You've been doing the inner work, setting clear intentions, visualizing, aligning your actions, but then suddenly, an old fear emerges. What if I'm not worthy? What if I get rejected again? What if this doesn't work out? That fear triggers familiar behaviors. You withdraw, you delay, you compromise your standards, you settle for less. The cycle is reactivating itself. But what if in that moment, instead of defaulting to the old behavior, you paused? What if you recognized the fear not as truth, but as residue from your previous frequency? What if you chose in that moment to breathe, to regulate your nervous system, to remain present with the discomfort without collapsing into it? That is the moment of quantum reality jumping. Not when you force a new reality, but when you stop reacting from the old one. Another sign that you're on the edge of a reality jump is heightened synchronicity. Not just external signs appearing, but the subtle alignment of internal and external realities. You might notice repeating number sequences, meaningful dreams, unexpected opportunities, or moments where your thoughts seem to manifest almost immediately. These indicate that your energetic field is becoming more coherent, more aligned with the potential reality you're calling in. But here's what most people don't understand about synchronicities. They're not random gifts from the universe. They're feedback signals, showing you the degree of coherence between your inner state and the reality you're moving toward. When synchronicities increase, it means the gap between your current frequency and your desired frequency is narrowing. When they decrease or disappear, it often means you've drifted back into old patterns or that resistance has increased. The most powerful synchronicities aren't always the obvious ones, like seeing repeated numbers or finding money on the ground. Often they're more subtle. The right conversation happening at exactly the right moment, meeting someone who has exactly the information you need, or feeling called to take a different route that leads to an unexpected opportunity. These subtler synchronicities indicate that you're developing what I call quantum sensitivity, the ability to sense and respond to the field's intelligence guiding your transition. However, these signs alone aren't sufficient. They're invitations, not guarantees. The real question is, how will you respond when they appear? Will you trust the unfolding process, even when it feels unfamiliar? Or will you retreat to the safety of your old patterns? Many people make the mistake of becoming addicted to synchronicities, constantly looking for external validation that they're on the right track. This actually weakens your signal because it puts your power outside of yourself. The most advanced quantum reality jumpers learn to generate their own sense of alignment from within, using synchronicities as confirmation rather than as their primary guidance system. There's also what I call reverse synchronicities. When everything seems to go wrong, when obstacles appear everywhere, when it feels like the universe is working against you, these aren't signs that you're off track. Often, they're signs that you're on the verge of a major breakthrough, and the old reality is putting up its final resistance. The key is learning to distinguish between reverse synchronicities that indicate breakthrough versus genuine misalignment that indicates you need to course correct. Quantum reality jumping requires you to remain in the threshold space, the in-between, long enough for the new frequency to stabilize. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of the process because it demands faith without proof, action without certainty, presence without guarantees. But here's the beautiful paradox. It's precisely in that space of uncertainty that the field reorganizes itself around your new frequency. The old reality begins to dissolve, not because you forced it, but because you've stopped feeding it with your attention, your fear, and your habitual responses. You've created a vacuum, and the field responds by filling it with the reality that matches your new coherence. So, if you're noticing these signs, if your old patterns are resurfacing, if your body is resisting, if synchronicities are appearing, if you feel emotionally stretched between who you've been and who you're becoming, know this: you are not failing, you are jumping, and they're
In our next section, we'll explore how to navigate this moment of transition with grace and precision. We'll discuss the specific practices that allow you to stop reacting from the old frequency and start embodying the new one, turning quantum reality jumping from a concept into a lived experience. Take a deep breath. You are closer than you realize. So, how do you actually make the jump? Not in theory, not someday, but right now, here in the space between your old self and the one you're ready to become. The answer might surprise you, because everything in our conditioning tells us to push harder, to do more, to fix, to force. But in the quantum model, creation doesn't happen through force. It happens through frequency alignment, and frequency isn't something you do, it's something you become. To jump into a new reality, you don't need to create the future you want, you need to tune into it. Because in the quantum field, that future already exists. It's not imaginary, it's not just potential, it's a version of you, vibrating at a specific frequency that you simply haven't yet stabilized into. So the question becomes, how do you stabilize into a new frequency? How do you stop reacting from the old pattern and begin embodying a new signal? First, it begins with your physical body. Most people try to shift their thinking while completely ignoring their physiology. But your body is the transmitter of your energy. If your nervous system is chaotic, if your body is still conditioned to respond with fear, tension, defensiveness, or panic, it will override any new thought you attempt to install. This is why you can understand the right concepts, speak the right words, and still feel trapped. The real jump happens when your nervous system becomes aligned with the reality you are manifesting. This means you need to train your body to feel safe in unfamiliar emotions. Peace, expansion, joy, abundance, especially if it's spent years normalizing anxiety, contraction, scarcity, and doubt. Here's a practice. Instead of trying to think your way into your future self, feel your way into it. Close your eyes and connect with the version of you who already exists in the reality you desire. Not just what they possess, but how they feel. What is the emotional quality of that version of you? Are they calm, confident, grateful, radiant, grounded? Now invite that emotional quality into your body, not as performance, not as pretense, but to begin training your nervous system to stabilize in that frequency. This isn't about acting, it's about rehearsing a new way of being until your system starts recognizing it as safe. Do it slowly, gently, without force. Even 10 seconds of genuinely feeling different can begin to interrupt the old cycle. 10 seconds of coherence is more powerful than 10 hours of mental effort. Second, practice conscious observation without collapse. This means becoming aware of your old patterns without becoming them. When an old fear arises, instead of panicking or suppressing it, witness it. When you notice a reactive thought, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, does this come from the version of me I'm jumping out of, or the one I'm jumping into? This moment of observation is the bridge. It's where your power resides. The more you can witness without collapsing into reaction, the more space you create for a different signal to emerge. Third, release the grip of urgency. The quantum field exists beyond time. When you feel desperate, frantic, or rushed to manifest something, your body is broadcasting lack and separation. Even if your mind is visualizing the desired outcome, slow down. You don't need to chase what's already yours in the field. You need to become a vibrational match for it. Remember, reality doesn't shift when you try harder. It shifts when your frequency no longer supports the old pattern. When the energetic foundation of your current reality begins to dissolve because it's no longer being sustained by your beliefs, your behaviors, your emotions, and your self-concept. One powerful approach: stop demanding proof. Stop needing evidence that it's working. When you look for proof too early, you're broadcasting doubt,
Instead, treat the absence of evidence as a test of your new embodiment. Smile when it doesn't appear to be working, because that's when you know you're starting to anchor a deeper frequency. Much of manifestation isn't about gaining more. It's about removing interference, removing the static, the tension, the urgency, the old expectations that keep you bound to what no longer serves you. The more you remove, the more naturally the signal comes through. You don't have to construct the new you from nothing. You just have to stop reinforcing the one you've outgrown. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering who you already are beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and repetition. This jump is not linear. It doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like stillness, sometimes like contraction. But if you maintain coherence, if you keep returning to the signal of your future self repeatedly, even quietly, even subtly, the quantum field begins to respond in ways you could never have forced into existence. Because the field doesn't respond to your timeline, it responds to your alignment. And alignment isn't a mental state, it's an energetic home. Here's something most people don't realize about quantum reality jumping. It often happens in layers. The first layer might be internal. You start feeling different, thinking different thoughts, having different emotional responses. The second layer might be energetic. Synchronicities increase, opportunities appear, people respond to you differently. The third layer is physical manifestation. Your external reality begins to reshape itself to match your new frequency. Most people quit during the first or second layer because they don't see immediate physical changes. But each layer is necessary. Each layer is building the foundation for the complete reality jump. Trust the process even when it doesn't look like you think it should. Let me share something that might surprise you. The most successful quantum reality jumpers often go through what I call the void phase. This is a period where the old reality has started dissolving, but the new one hasn't fully materialized yet. It can feel like being suspended in nothingness, like you're in limbo, like you don't know who you are anymore. This phase terrifies most people, because our minds crave certainty and familiar reference points. But the void phase is actually the most creative space in the quantum field. It's where infinite possibilities exist before they collapse into specific realities. If you can learn to be comfortable in this space of not knowing, you become incredibly powerful as a conscious creator. You're no longer attached to how things should look or when they should happen. You're simply holding your frequency and allowing the field's intelligence to orchestrate the perfect unfolding. During the void phase, your ego will tell you that nothing is working, that you should go back to your old life, that you're wasting your time. This is normal. The ego's job is to keep you safe through familiarity, and the void represents the ultimate unknown. But if you can breathe through this phase, if you can maintain your new frequency even when there's no external evidence to support it, you'll emerge into a reality that's often far beyond what you originally envisioned. Another crucial aspect of quantum reality jumping that most people overlook is the importance of energetic boundaries. As you begin to embody a new frequency, you'll start attracting different experiences and people. But you'll also find that some of your old relationships and environments no longer match your new energy. This can be painful, especially when it involves people you care about. The key is learning to hold your new frequency while still having compassion for those who are operating from older patterns. You don't need to cut people out of your life dramatically, but you do need to stop allowing their energy to pull you back into your old frequency. This might mean limiting certain conversations, setting boundaries around what energy you're willing to absorb, or simply spending less time in environments that drain your new vibration. So let me ask you now, if you're feeling this shift happening, if you know you're in that space between realities, if something in your body is awakening to a new possibility, comment below, "I'm ready to jump." Not just because I asked, but because this is your moment to claim it, to speak from your new self, to anchor a new frequency in the field, not just with thoughts, but with full body resonance. We're approaching the culmination. In our final section, we'll bring everything together. You'll learn how to walk with coherence, how to live this jump day by day, and how to embody it so completely that you become the frequency and the field has no choice but to mirror it back to you. You've come this far. You've discovered how the cycle maintains itself. how your unconscious preserves the patterns that keep your reality in repeat mode, and how your body clings to the emotional signatures of your past self like a familiar comfort zone. You've learned how the quantum field doesn't fight your desire, but faithfully reflects the frequency you consistently broadcast. Not what you want, but what you are. And now here you stand at the edge of a new reality. The threshold isn't somewhere out there in your future. It's right here in this moment as you choose to embody a different frequency, to move beyond reaction and repetition, to become the conscious creator of your reality, not the unconscious participant in its endless replay. Let's be completely clear about something. Quantum reality jumping is not a single event. It's not a dramatic explosion that instantly transforms everything forever. Although sometimes it can feel like that, more often it's subtle, quiet, an accumulation of micro-choices, micro-shifts, tiny moments where you choose to observe instead of react, to soften instead of tense, to trust instead of panic. Each time you choose presence over programming, alignment over urgency, coherence over chaos,